What's up, everybody? This is Jeannie Ifoe, the one and only African superstar. I'm back at it live. I've been going live the past few days in the morning, so I haven't really had given people in the evening an opportunity to kind of talk about these topics. Again, Ukraine and Russia is a hot topic. I personally have so much to say about it because there's so many life lessons in it. So today we're going to talk about it's unwise to keep your enemies close. Lessons from Ukraine and Russia. So big shout outs to the African superstar family. Please make sure that you like the stream when you come in. You can also leave a comment in the chat room for me. Also, please, 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 you can support the stream. Don't be a stranger. What's up, family? If you're here, make sure that you greet me and say what it is. Now, obviously, I would definitely say Black people. It's kind of a Black thing. We are taught to, quote unquote, love our neighbors. A lot of you guys have probably heard the whole keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. This type of nonsense. And I want to talk about how that is a fallacy and how we can actually see what's going on in regards to, foreign nations and things like that, how they handle their actual enemies. Now, for those of you that don't know much about the reason why Russia has gone into Ukraine because Ukraine has become involved with NATO, which is the North American Treaty Organization. And basically, the U.S. is trying to use Ukraine to advance military. They want to put weapons there or bases there or whatever. And so basically they are enemies with Russia. They've had a long-standing, feud with them, so to speak. And so Russia feels, no, that's way too close. Ukraine shares a border with Russia. They don't want the Americans to set up shop in Ukraine and so on and so forth. So we have a prime example of why it's unwise to keep your enemies close. I always believe this anyway. I'm someone who talks a lot about proximity. I'm someone who believes in proximity. I believe that if you're not in proximity of certain situations, you won't be involved. Therefore, if you have enemies, okay, and you keep close proximity with them, you give them detailed access to your life. All right. Many people have been eliminated, set up, killed, affected when they are very close to their enemy, so to speak. There have been spies, people that come into your business, steal your business ideas. All this stuff is because you have done what? You've given proximity. Okay. The Russians don't want Americans to have proximity to them. Okay. They're not talking about, well, we're going to love our neighbors and we're just going to let it slide. Let's just, see what happens. Let's just pray. No. When the Russians felt, okay, the Americans are advancing through Ukraine, we need to respond to this. Okay. Keeping your enemies close is unwise. Very, very unwise. A couple weeks ago, I talked about Samson and Delilah. Okay. I talked about how, Samson kept entertaining Delilah until Delilah was successful in learning his secret, cut his hair, and he lost all his power. A lot of you guys have entertained your enemies up close and personal, and you have suffered for that. You have seen the fallout from that. It makes me think about, for instance, people getting poisoned. Okay. In order for you to get poisoned, a person has to be close to you because they have to either put it in your food, put it in your drink, put it somewhere that you're going to ingest it. It's not something that someone from a distance can do easily. And sometimes your enemy is giving you warnings. Okay, in this case, Russia obviously monitors what the U.S. does in their region as far as military. And they felt, hey, you know what? The U.S. is going too far, so we need to make a move. Okay. The U.S. did the same thing when Russia wanted to set up shops in Cuba. Okay. Which Cuba, I believe, is like 90 miles from the U.S. And America felt threatened by that movement. You see, They tell us to love our neighbors, but they don't do that when it comes down to it. They don't adhere to their doctrine that they have told us to ingest. But me personally, I'm very mindful of the people that get close to me. I tell y'all all the time. Okay. I don't play around with my enemies. I don't entertain my enemies. I don't give people that are questionable details about my life and all my personal business and everything like that. These are life lessons that you can see playing out on the big screen. Okay. Essentially, white people, Russia, Ukraine, and America have demonstrated to us that, yeah, they don't play around with their enemies. Okay. When their enemies are advancing, when their enemies are attempting to get close or attempting to get proximity, they deal with it. Big shout out to African Superstar family. Guys, if you're here, leave me something in the chat so I can greet you. What's up, Ultra Instinct? I see several other of you here. Please make sure you like the stream, guys. Show your support for the stream if you like the stream. So I've had a lot to say about this Ukraine-Russia thing because I think that it is showing us so many irrefutable truths. It's showing us the nature, the presence of, foreigners in European lands. It's showing us how, our non-Black peers deal with their enemies, deal with conflict. It's giving us a glimpse. And if we're smart, we should apply these life lessons. Now, I've already been using a lot of these. I don't believe in keeping my enemies close to me. I don't believe that. No. I think the closer they are to you, the more detrimental they can be to you because they have access and they have proximity. And sometimes these enemies, they masquerade as friends or associates, and you have them in and you're just giving them all your details. Some of you ladies out there, you've had girlfriends that you entertain. The girl ends up taking your man. Huh? You've been telling her all your problems. Oh, Johnny complains about this. Michael's unhappy. Kwame, blah, blah, blah. And then what does she do? She morphs into whatever you haven't been doing or wherever the problem is. She goes to him and says, I just want to be a shoulder to cry on, and blah, blah, blah. You see, all this stuff, proximity. I can tell you so many times, and I'll tell you again tonight just for GP, but do not entertain your enemies, okay? When you're dealing with people and they don't like you, they have issues with you, you've seen, questionable behaviors from them or red flags, all right? You need to estrange yourself from that. Thank you, Antoinette. Big shout out to members only. I see you there, sweetie. Thank you so much for the super chat. I love you. Antoinette's always showing a lot of love. Thank you. Yeah, tonight we're talking about, life lessons, guys. Look at what goes on. Stop being oblivious to what goes on. A lot of our people live in la la land. They are expecting a savior. They're expecting karma. They're expecting it all to come full circle. That's not how this thing works. Okay, in reality, what you put in is what you get out. When people are showing you what time it is, please, please, please take it. Accept it. It is unwise to keep your enemies close. This is the nonsense that they have given us. Logically, it doesn't even make sense. And you're getting a big, huge example, real time in current events, that these people that have instilled in us that we should keep our enemies close and kiss our neighbors and be cool with them. No, that's not what they're doing. I'm pretty sure if you go to Russia, I don't know much about Russia, but Russia is probably a Christian nation. We know the U.S. is a Christian nation, probably Ukraine, Christian. These are their fundamentals. Okay. I, like many Africans, grew up on that Bible, know it inside and out. Okay. They tell us to love thy neighbors. That's what they say, right? Am I correct? Can anybody back me up in the chat? That's what the Bible says about your enemies. Okay. But in real life, that's not how they're doing it. Bishaj, Jessica J, I see you there. Joyce Boggs. I see you there. Big shout outs to the family. Thank you guys so much for being here and supporting the stream. Make sure you like the stream. Your super chats are most welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Do not give your enemies close proximity to you. Okay? You've been dating someone, perhaps. You've been romantically involved with someone. This person keeps on doing things to sabotage you. They threaten you. Maybe they've gotten physically abusive to you. Maybe inappropriate with the kids. Listen, we all know how a lot of those domestic disputes end up. And, if this is for anyone, in particular, that maybe this pertains to, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just talking about the facts here. If you are involved in a domestic, abusive relationship, a lot of times it ends up with someone getting hurt or killed. Usually the abuser does it to the abused, or the abused gets fed up and, attacks their abuser, kills their abuser, whatever. It doesn't end nicely when you keep on yo-yoing and playing games with your enemies. Don't play with your enemies. Estrange yourself from your enemies. Take people serious in 2022, family. Okay, so WM West Coast. So they might be Catholic. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they're something Christian. Lutheran, Anglican, whatever, whatever, all that, Catholic, extra, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I know they're not Muslim in Russia. I know that much. So, but they're not loving on their enemies though. Russia rolled up in Ukraine, blew up some stuff. I'm sure there was some civilian casualties. I'm sure there was some military casualties. They haven't released that information. There's definitely been damage. Okay. Putin said, listen, I can't take the fact that the U.S. is, invading or basically encroaching on my borders. Okay. And strategically, the U.S., because see, a lot of you guys are not informed. All right. Strategically, the U.S. has been petitioning different countries in Eastern Europe to put their bases there and have military power in these bases, basically trying to encroach on Russia. All right. That's exactly what the U.S. has been doing. And so Putin said, no, you getting too close here with this Ukraine situation. So I don't like it. So we about to roll up in here and get stuff straightened out. And I don't really blame it, because I don't want my enemies close to me. And the U.S. does the same thing. If Putin was to go petition Canada and say, hey, let me set up some bases over here in Canada, let me bring some missiles over here and some nuclear power and whatever, America wouldn't be cool with that. If they went to Russia, maybe even Brazil, and said, hey, look, we want to set up some missiles. I mean, they put sanctions on Cuba for the very same reason. And I mean, there's so many lessons. I'll be going on and on and on about Ukraine and Russia, because there's so many lessons that we should learn from this. Okay. A lot of us have been on that religious mind and we don't think logically. And we wonder why we keep on encountering the things that we encounter. Big shout out, Blackavelli's back with me. I see you, brother. Thank you. We keep encountering a lot of things as a people and individually because we're doing dumb stuff. We're doing dumb stuff. We don't think about it. You know what I'm saying? We're doing dumb stuff that's not productive, not proactive, not taking us into the future. We're doing things that our peers don't even do. Do you guys hear the Chinese talk about loving their neighbors? Loving their enemies? Huh? Korea, Vietnam, Japan. I mean, we're seeing what America, Russia, and Ukraine is doing. They're showing us that they ain't about that life. What's up, family? I see a lot of you guys coming in here. Make sure you like the streams. What's up, Mr. Amara? I see you. Big shout outs. Thanks, guys, for shouting out our mission statement. Strategy, maturity, and patience. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not even abreast of what happened in Somalia, but you know, anything African doesn't get mainstream media. Yet another lesson. Sandy Kelly says, we must be honest. Those Africans that leave their countries to nest in another man's country because they are not interested in building their countries. That's very true. A lot of people that migrate, you know, that may be their reason. There are other reasons that people migrate. Some go for, you know, school. From what I understand, a lot of those that are in Ukraine, Patrice Lumumba has a university in Ukraine and is very popular among, you know, African migrants. So there's most of the people that are in Ukraine, a lot of them are students. You know, they have been kind of the focal point of this whole thing. I mean, and quite frankly, you know, traveling does provide exposure. I would say that I'm definitely the person I am today because I had the ability to travel as a youth. Traveling is not the whole problem. There's a lot of problems with it, you know. But indeed, many people are traveling and living abroad because they don't want to deal with the dynamics of what's happening in their country. But what they don't realize is when you have energy, I've been talking about this for a minute. Big shout outs. I see you there. Thank you so much. Blockavelli with your super chat, brother. The thing is that whatever you invest your energy in is going to be where you get some reciprocity. Okay, that's what I've been talking about lately on the channel. And what Africans don't realize is you are spending your youth, you're paying taxes, you're buying home there, you're raising your kids. You are essentially investing in that nation, you know. And we have a lot of people, a lot of Africans in the international community that are otherwise investing in other people's lands. And those lands are not going to reciprocate it. Okay, and we see right now, even in a war crisis, okay, we don't even have a reprieve in war. They're still letting us know, hey, you don't belong here, and we're gonna preference our own, which they should do, because that's self-preservation. Technically, why would I save the foreigners and then leave my citizens to be vulnerable? No, I got to make sure my citizens are taken care of first. You know. And we need to understand they don't have no obligation to us when we choose to be in their lanes. You know what I mean? And when the line of the demarcation comes along, they will choose their own people because that's what they're supposed to do. And we're supposed to also do the same. But you know what Sandy brings up is relevant. And that's why many Pan-Africans in the West, for instance, they will struggle to find that Pan-African, you know, element among their peers in the diaspora, because a lot of them have a negative connotation of the continent or don't want to return to the continent, and that's what it is. Big shout outs, WM West Coast. Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for that super chat. I see you guys. Big shout outs to the family. Like the stream tonight. I'm talking about real-time life lessons. Okay, they told us that we need to love our enemies. And they told us we need to keep our enemies close. But in real time, in real life, in 2022, Russia's enemy, who's the U.S., was using Ukraine to get closer to Russia. And Russia said, no, I'm not going to let the U.S. set up shop here. It's too close. It's too close, and it doesn't make sense. We're running around talking about, I want to keep my enemies close. You're stupid. You're a fool. Think about it. You're giving your enemy access to harm you because that's what an enemy wants to do. You know what I'm saying? I always think in my mind, it's probably just because I've watched too many African movies. Okay? I've watched so much Nollywood in my past. I always get the visual of, you know, your enemy being with you and poisoning you. That's always what I think about. Okay. I think about the unlikelihood that if you have your enemy at a distance, they don't have that proximity to put the poison in your food or put the poison in your drinks because they're not close to you. But some of you guys want to be like so nice to people that you know don't like you. They've given you the indication that, you know, they're jealous and all this stuff. You think it's cute to have them to you. You think it's sexy. And then when they F you up, you want to moan and groan. But it was your fault. You had them close to you. Big shout out to Portia Official. I love you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for the super chat. Big shout out to the family. Guys, make sure you like the stream. We're talking about life lessons, okay? The people that have told you you need to love your enemies, they don't love their enemies. The people that told you you need to, what did they say? Kiss your enemies on the cheek or whatever nonsense they'd say. They're not doing that. They don't do that. Okay? In reality, when the enemies get too close to them, they get poised to react. You know, and honestly, I mean, look, I know we have some veterans here and I know we have some American servicemen and all that, but to be honest, I lightweight respect the Russian response. I really do. Because it's like, look, I'm not about to be aware that you're trying to come and get me. You know, that you're trying to use people to position yourself to come and get me. And I'm not about to be aware of it and allow it. No. You know, now all these things are coming out as an after fact that Russia notified Ukraine, told the civilians to evacuate, that they wanted to have a toe-to-toe with the army. Okay, they didn't want to affect civilians. Okay, this is what the Russians did. The Russians was on code with how they was going to do it. Okay, the Ukrainians knew that Russia was advancing. From what I've heard, the Russians have been moving close to the border for weeks now. All right. Now, if the Russians really want to be nasty, they could have just did an ambush. They could have just rolled in at night. They could have gave them no advance warning if that's what they want to do. They could have technical difficulties. Technical difficulties. I'm back. Don't worry. I was getting too real up in here. I was getting real up in here. But what I'm saying is, okay, the moral of the story is, look, okay, any smart, intelligent person is not about to let their enemy advance on them. Okay? I know what we have been taught, you know, and maybe some of you guys have even started teaching that nonsense to your kids. I advise you to instill and empower the youth not to be thinking like this, because we see a lot of our people just think that as life happens to them, that's how it has to be. And that's not the case. The reality is your life is a culmination of the decisions that you make. Do not allow your enemies to have close proximity to you. Do not. Okay? I've seen too many crime stories where, you know, it's a jealous friend, a jealous spouse, you know, somebody who has basically demonstrated in the past that they don't have love for this person, and you let them come back in, you forgive them, you give them a second chance, and then what do? They take you out, because that's what an enemy does. That's the sole premise of an enemy. Okay, the sole premise of an enemy is to do you harm. you know. So like I was saying when I was cut off, I don't blame Russia for their movements. I don't. The US has done the same thing. And any other smart nation would do the same thing. If they knew enemy forces was coming for them or trying to set up shop close to them or whatever, you know, do not let your enemies be close to you. Big shout out Souls of Our Ancestors says, take it from us in America. We know what it's like living shoulder to shoulder with the enemy. Bang. You live in a constant state of high alert. Cortisol levels on 10 constantly. Wow. And that's real. You know, I've previously lived in America. Souls of Our Ancestors is talking 100%. You know, you every day you go out, you don't know what can happen. Okay? Your peers behave some kind of way. Obviously, you know the situation with the police. You can have an encounter at work, racism. And it puts our people under immense stress, just like Souls of Ancestors said. It's good to be away from your away from your enemies. That is why many people, when they leave the West and they come back to the continent, they feel what? Peace. They feel safe. Because what? They're around who? Their people. They don't feel threatened in these environments. Okay? It's not violent in these environments. You know, they don't have to worry about encounters that become fatal. They don't have to worry about police brutality here. Okay? They don't have to worry about those kind of situations. And it's very freeing when you don't have to deal with that on a regular basis. I encourage you guys to stop fraternizing with your enemies. Now, the Christians may come here and say, well, you know what? You're not God. You're not, whoever, whatever. Well, all I am is smart. You're right. I'm not the Bible, and I'm not. It just doesn't make any sense. And when you think about practical application of that nonsense, nobody else has that ideology of loving your enemies and all that. No, nobody else exercises that. You know, if that's the case, we would see a different situation between Russia, Ukraine, and the US right now. You know, the Russians will be like, well, let's just have a candlelight vigil. You know, we heard that the Americans are trying to set up NATO in Ukraine. Let's just hope for the best. Let's just pray. Just be prayerful, Fitzroy. Keep hope alive. Stay prayerful. Stay faithful. The U.S. will be saying, hey, God's going to work it out, guys. They're not relying on any of that. Okay? They said, I got these nukes. I got these missiles. Okay? Russia said, we got these tanks. We about to roll up into their borders. All right? Practical application is, do not give your proximity to enemies. Do not. They will kill you. Okay? That's what enemies will do if you keep giving them proximity. Keep playing with them. Just like, the fairy tale, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Okay, so in other words, there was a little boy and he was always playing around with people. Help, I'm in this situation. Somebody's chasing me. All the different things that he used to do. And it got to the point that a real situation confronted him and nobody took him serious because he had always been crying wolf. He had always been pretending that, something was wrong. And so when you entertain your enemies, that's how it gets. Any of you guys that have had friends, again, domestic violence situations, sometimes they'll contact you and say, oh, we got into a fight. If any of you guys, any of you men, maybe your sisters or cousins, they say, hey, he put his hands on me. You go over there. You ready to fight. You ready to tear it up. All for her just to go back next week. Well, we got kids together and I love him and he promised he wasn't going to do it anymore. You see? And then it gets to the point where, you know, you don't even want to intervene because this person just keeps on crying wolf. Please, guys, save yourself. Stop fooling around with your enemies. This is why our people become victims in these settings. They keep becoming victims in these settings. They see these people advancing against us, okay, being violent, being hostile, and they just keep saying, well, I would say Black people in America are notorious for bringing up laws. Like the laws are going to stop the people that made the laws. Well, this isn't right. And I'm going to sue them. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. How about you get away from your enemies? Big shout outs to Lorne. Members only in the building. Big shout outs to our members only. They're represented by that circle. Much love to my super chat donors as well. I see you there. Thank you guys for showing a lot of love today. So I mean, that's the message tonight. I feel like we have to deprogram ourselves from all the nonsense that we learned, the things that are illogical that we learned. I think a lot of what we learn religiously really opens us up for the abuse that we deal with. We're always waiting on a savior. We're always waiting on karma. We think these people are going to reap what they sow. They've yet to reap it. Centuries of sowing these kind of seeds and they don't pay. They don't pay because we don't make them pay. Let me give you an example and I'm going to close. So let's just say that Mr. Amara has a grocery store, okay? And I go into his grocery store every week like clockwork and I get, $40 of groceries, okay? I just get some produce, some fruit, a couple drinks, whatever. And, I go to the cashier and I tell him, oh, well, I'm going to pay you one day. I'm going to pay you one day. And he just keeps going with it. Okay, well, she says she's going to pay in good faith. She's going to pay. She's going to pay. Then next thing you know, I moved to Ghana. And he hears it through the grapevine that I moved to Ghana. I owe him, hundreds of bucks at this point. And how is he going to get his money back? Okay. The only way he would ever get his money back is, for him to kind of force me to pay it back. Because if I don't pay it, okay, if I don't pay it because I owe it to him, then he has to apply some pressure to get the money back. And that's the situation that we're in. Okay, guys, people are not going to just do things because it's the right thing to do. Okay, people do things because you command that it gets done. People respect you when you command respect. People stop abusing when you stand up and stand on your own 2 feet. We stand around and wait for someone else, okay, a lot of times an ethereal being that we've never seen and never intervened on our behalf. We wait for the greater good to work these things out when we're supposed to negotiate it. Just like a lot of those people we talked about in Ukraine. They were getting warnings. They were seeing other countries, telling their citizens to leave and all this. And they sat there and kind of, for one reason or another, they didn't evacuate. Okay. You have to have your best interests at heart, period. Because nobody else is going to do it. Okay. And you can disagree all you want. But like I said, you would be a fool to let your enemies get in close proximity of you. And they want to kill you. U.S. is using Ukraine to get proximity to Russia. All right. We talked about that in the beginning. If you're just getting here and you don't know why Russia has gone into Ukraine, that's why. Okay. America has been using NATO to set up military presence in Ukraine. And Putin said, nah, you're not getting that close to me. That's what this whole thing is about. And I understand him. I do. Because I don't believe that you should entertain your enemies. Your enemies will kill you. Do you think if, for instance, the Americans get right up to the Russian border, that they're going to go and have dinner with Putin and go to Russia and, you know, do some volunteer work? And hell no. If that's the approach they had, they wouldn't be trying to put military in the region. Why are they trying to put military in the region against one of their arch enemies? I don't blame Russia. I wouldn't blame anybody. Because I also don't let my enemies that close to me. You know? Big shout out. Thank you so much for the super chat. Souls of Our Ancestors says, in a quote, for the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. Woo, girl. They may allow us to temporarily to beat them at their own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change. Big shout out to you. Thank you so much for that super chat. That's what time it is. It's such a great note to end this message. This is why we have to direct our focus on our own people. This is why. You know, they will give us a small space to operate in their societies. Big shout out to Coach Kiaria. Yeah, you let your enemies get close to you, they're going to harm you, if not kill you. Yes. And our Bible and religion tells us, oh, love your enemies. There's a stupid adage that says, oh, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. It's stupid. Giving your enemies proximity, they will kill you. That's what they come to do. Okay, that's what they want to do. Enemies are not your friends. Period. And we need to start taking some responsibility about how we negotiate our lives. If you're not a victim, all right, if you're not a victim, you understand you have power, you have energy, you have intellect, and you have the ability to choose your life path. Okay? You don't have to subject yourself to things you don't want to be dealing with. Okay? Playing around with your enemies is a very, very stupid and dangerous thing to do. All you got to do, you know, when I was, you know, I'd say as of late, probably like the last 10 years, I just used to watch crime shows incessantly. You know, Law and Order, The First 48, you know what I'm saying? All kind of crime shows, Unsolved Mysteries. And all of these stories, most of them, is from this very thing. A lot of people know perpetrators. They know the person who robs them. They know the person who kills them. They know the person who kidnaps them or harms them or what. A lot of people know the perpetrator. Okay? That's why you don't fool around with your enemies. And I can't fault any person who says, you know what, my enemy's getting too close. I need some space. Okay? Those of us that have chosen to leave the West because we don't want to live in proximity of our enemies. Do you realize, I mean, there's been crazy deaths in the U.S., for instance, of, you know, Black people trying to do this, trying to do that. Next thing you know, they turn up dead. Nobody knows anything. Nobody says anything. Okay? You're living among your enemies and you don't have no allies over there. What do you think is going to happen? Especially some of us that want to be defiant. You know, some of us that have a message that's contrary to the message they want us to have and the things they want us to say. And you're in their environments. They're not going to just let you be there. Yeah, they have laws that say you can do it. Yeah, the laws say freedom of speech and every man's entitled to it. That's what the laws say. But that's not in reality. It's something different. And we see that displayed and exhibited right now. You know, like I said, all these nations are primarily Christian nations, Catholics, whatever. Okay, they're non-Muslim nations. Okay, Ukraine is not a Muslim nation. Russia is not a Muslim nation, and the U.S. is not a Muslim nation. Okay, these people have the Christianity fundamentals, but yet and still, when it comes down to it, if their enemies is getting too close, they're not loving on their enemies. What's up, Mo Pride? Spencer Toe, I see you there. I see the family. I haven't done shout outs today, but much love to those of you that is here with me today. Samson, I see you. Yes. So this was tonight's topic. You know, thank you, Sandy Kelly, for the compliment. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'm just trying to, you know, encourage you to change the way that you think about some things that we were taught, because a lot of what we were taught and a lot of what we personally believe in is complete nonsense. You know, in reality, it's unwise to keep your enemy close to you. All right. I know what we've been taught and what everybody says, and love our neighbor and world peace is not a realistic concept. All right. In reality, you need to fight to preserve your life. All right. You need to protect that. Part of protecting that is protecting yourself against people that are going to threaten your life and livelihood. Okay. All right. So big shout outs to the African Superstar family. Much, much love to all my super chat donors. We had several of you guys showing love today. I really, really appreciate it, because those funds obviously are going towards our music project, our next music video for my third single. I know y'all want to see it. I want to definitely shoot it. So everybody who contributed, much, much love to you. Also, big shout outs to my members only that are designated by the circle next to their name. They was in here deep today. I saw Lorne. I saw Antoinette in the building. Much love to you guys. So thank you so much. All right. I'll see you guys again soon. Again, I'm on this Ukraine, Russia. So many life lessons. So it's such a rich topic. So we're going to carry on with this throughout the week. Okay. Until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.